Oh, hello. Do you think that Big Brother's watching? Or that the Illuminati is planning to take over the world? Have you happened to have an encounter with a space alien today? Well, if the answer to those questions is yes, then grab your hat. This is tinfoil hat time. Greetings. Permission has been granted and we are streaming from Mars today. Space aliens are correct. Roger's back here monitoring me, making sure everything's going okay. Fun little things. I don't know. Feel a little ethereal at times, but anyway, Mars is going good. This is we are filming here from the overlooking Preservation Valley. So if you are up on where Mars happens to be, that is where we are at. So, you know, Mars, why not? It's kind of fun. So today we are going to be talking about big data, racist big data, sexist big data, other big data numbers that are probably just going to get this video demonetized. I don't know, never know, with things like this in the thumbnails and in the titles, whatever else, who knows. But what caught my attention, and of course somebody did question, is that picture from Minority Report? Yes, it is. It's actually credited in the description there as well. So, Jared Cox, greetings. Matthew Keller, hello. Sputter Eyes, hello there. Isaiah Briggs, greetings. Carbon Programmer, hello. And there's a whole lot of Mandarin going back and forth, and I can't read a single word of it. We're typing Taiwanese Mandarin on the live stream, and I was blocked because the user thought I was a Chinese bot. Well, I might do that if I didn't know it was you. Hello, Brian, the Computer Geek. Let's see. I have my tinfoil hat on as well. Good to know. Carbon Programmer, hello. Spider Eyes, hello. I have a pig on my desk. It's cool. I have an alien on mine. All right. Let's see. NK, hello from the EU. Hello to the EU. Isaiah Briggs, 1984. Yes, that is correct. Yes, we are going to be talking about some forbidden news from the Chinese. No, we're not going to do that. But what we're going to look at today is big data, of course, has been a big topic lately. And the biggest challenge with big data these days is that so much of it gets collected, and a lot of people are pointing us towards algorithmic things. But the challenge that we get is that the algorithms oftentimes introduce bias that we assume is not there. And that in and of itself is a little bit of a challenge. And so with that being said, the reality is that big data is a huge thing. It has always been a huge thing. In my research, I mean, I found articles back 5 years back, which is important. So the articles that we're going to look at here today span from 5 years back all the way up to, all the way up to the future now. So like right now. And the article, the first thing that actually got me into looking at this was actually an article that a portion of this was reprinted, and with the reprint from Ars Technica. And I've not read this book, but it looks fascinating. I have a link to it down in the descriptions below. And so with this, basically this is asking us about big data and the problems. Particularly, this relates to policing, but we're actually going to go back and look at a lot of other areas where big data can be a big problem. And so what we're going to do is kind of flip through this. I'll read large portions of this extract here. So this is from a book, and I have the book listed down below. I think they have the title of it here, The Rise of Big Data Policing. So, of course, the reality is that a lot of police departments are now collecting a lot of data, buying a lot of data, and using that data to attempt to do what is called predictive crime fighting. Like Predpol was the name of the thing. They ran it in Chicago and a few other places. And what Predpol is predictive policing is what it stands for. And the reason I use the Minority Report thing is that's the entire thing about Minority Report. Ask this question about predictive polling. So do you have the ability to poll predictively or not? And that was kind of kind of that the movie Minority Report demonstrated that if this were to be a thing, it could very easily be co-opted by different people in different ways for different circumstances. And so this book came out, and he is a sociologist, and he studies the effect of this. And he starts out by saying the rise of big data policing rests in part on the belief that data-based decisions can be more objective, fair, and accurate than traditional policing. Data is data, and thus, the thinking goes, not subject to the same subjective errors as human decision-making, but in truth, algorithms encode both error and bias, as David Vlack, a former director of Bureau of Consumer Protection of the Federal Trade Commission, who was thus in charge of how much loss surrounding big data and consumer protection, once warned, algorithms may be imperfect decision-making tools. Algorithms themselves are designed by humans, leaving open the possibility that unrecognized human bias may taint the process, and algorithms are no better than the data they process, and we know that much of the data may be unreliable, outdated, or reflect bias. And that's the biggest problem, is that people take this data collection and say, well, it's unbiased. Well, the problem is it's super biased. In fact, it's dangerously biased. And that is the thing. We're going to first look at how big data has impacted other things and then ask that fundamental question. We're going to come back to this article at the end and ask that fundamental question. Is big data good enough right now, or even will it ever be good enough to be used in predictive policing? So that's kind of going to be what our question happens to be by the end. Let's go ahead and have a look at some comments first. All right. Okay. Just a couple more folks jumped on. So Deep State Tremello, greetings there. Spotty de Sylvia, hello there. Like your space alien, he always looks confused, but he has a tinfoil hat on. Yes, indeed. His name is Roger. Hello from Denmark. Tom literally made me switch to Linux. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much, Jonas, and I hope that you are enjoying your time on Linux. It is definitely a fun distro. Well, I guess lots of Linux distros are fun, but Linux is a fun operating system, I should say. All right, so first let's go back and talk about who has been leading a lot of these studies. And the group ProPublica has done a lot more of these studies. So you'll see I have a lot of reports here from ProPublica or journal articles quoting from them. And the reason is these guys have really asked those fundamental questions and have been asking these questions for years and actually funding research studies to look into this. And so they've done a variety of things looking at the fact that if you're online looking for things like staplers or whatever else, just doing online searches, they find that people from zip codes where are primarily minorities generally pay higher prices than the zip codes where people are not among the minorities. And that's kind of a weird factor, because what happens then is the most marginalized people who statistically generally as a group have lower resources get charged higher prices. They found higher prices in car insurance, higher prices in just basic online things, and higher prices in testing and in things like that. So of course the FTC came out and did a report. So they released this 50-page document here in January of last year, so almost 2 years ago. And I actually want to have a look at page 6. So we're looking at big data's benefits and risks. So they're talking about the fact that we can collect all these data and then, as a result, mining large sets of data to find useful, non-obvious patterns relative to new but growing practices in the market, fraud protection, human resources, and a variety of other fields. Now, here's the problem: that the human race inherently is more. We are inherently a race that will take advantage of other people. We will take the same opportunities that for some people have a great good potential, and we will turn it into something evil. Ravi Zacharias has said that our improved technology tends to give us an improved means to reach our own deteriorating ends. And so to say we have this big data thing out here and it's going to intrinsically help the world and the population is kind of a fool's errand, because in reality it's just not always the way that we generally do things. And so that is one of those things that we need to keep in mind. And so with that, and I'm not saying we need to totally ban it. What I'm saying and what I would advocate for is a lot more knowledge about what it is and the absolute ability to stop the data collection. And we're going to talk later on about the ways people have attempted to do that. I think I'm a little further down than I wanted to be here. It might have been, I think yeah, it was. I think it's I need page 6 on the actual PDF, not page 6 in the actual document. That's the part I wanted to flip through. Okay, executive summary. There we go. Big data's benefits and risks. This is the part I wanted to read through because there's just so much other stuff out there. There's a huge document. It's linked in the description below. Okay, so big data analytics can provide numerous opportunities for improvement in society. In addition to more effectively matching products and services to consumers, big data can create opportunities for low-income and underserved communities. For example, workshop participants and others have noted that big data is helping target educational, credit, healthcare, employment opportunities to low-income and underserved populations. At the same time, workshop participants and others have noted how potential inaccuracies and biases might lead to detrimental effects for low-income and unserved populations. For example, participants raised concerns that companies could use big data to exclude low-income and underserved communities from credit and employment opportunities. Okay, and so that is that fundamental question: is what really is the final impetus of this? Are we really using this for the good, or are we really using this for the bad in the general practice of the world? And that becomes the question. And if the overarching use is bad, we need to have more protections to put in place and the ability. Like, I want to have the ability to tell any company, you may not collect any data on me. We don't have that ability in the States. EU does. We in the States, we don't. And we don't care because data is too valuable. And so until it gets to the point to where we can't collect that data, that's the challenge. So let's go ahead and look at that first part again. In addition to more effectively matching products and services to consumers. That in and of itself is the biggest challenge I personally have with this. And the reason is I don't want to have marketing so targeted to me, because what can happen is I might set a goal for myself to save a certain amount of money, or to not buy that extra pack of cookies this month, or to stop drinking. You know, alcoholism is a huge thing. To stop all these things. And if these companies know the hot buttons to push to get me to spend the money, they want to keep pushing them over and over and over. And it becomes a manipulative way to get somebody to coerce their goal and coerce them to buy something where they wanted to not buy something. Because if you keep on giving it to you over and over and over, eventually you will fall. And that is one of those challenges that we have to have the ability to sit back and say, stop targeting me so closely. Now, it is possible to do that. And a lot of people will tell me this. I've done FPU, financial classes and things like that, where people are like, they're coming, it's like, you know, it's funny. I'll look something up online and then every site I go onto, I'm seeing an ad for that. I said, yeah, you need to stop using Google. Stop using Google and that won't happen. And of course, you can block those advertising networks. I have every data mining group and every advertising group that I know of blocked in my host script, except I will allow the Google services through, just because they generally play nice. They collect too much data, but they play nice, and I do make a portion of my income from ad revenue from Google. So I'm not going to be hypocritical in that manner. But your big players, your big data collectors, I have no problem with Google pushing ads to me that are relevant to the content I'm looking at. It's when they push ads that are relevant to what they think I want to see, that is where we cross the line. And that's really what is happening, is they want to collect all of this data so that that type of stuff goes on. All right, so that goes on. So for example, let's see, workshop participants and others have noted big data is helping target educational, credit, healthcare, and employment opportunities to low-income and underserved populations. that is certainly a positive use. Identify the people who need the service that you have. Here is the biggest fundamental problem, though, is that a lot of these services they're talking about are paid products. And so now you're allowing people to target people with products. And I've been at a point in my life in the past where I've understood the challenges and the problems with always telling somebody, try this new thing. Like, my biggest example is in college. You know, I was a chemist in college, and you know, I was, you know, chemistry was hard. And I'm like, well, if I just get another chemistry textbook, another this, another that, then I will, you know, I will do better. And that's kind of the situation. And so the reality is, the reality was, hold on a second. All right, he said sorry, I'll unblock you. Somebody says I hate you all in the messages. Don't do that again, dude. I'm going to unblock you temporarily, but we'll see what happens. I'm monitoring these comments. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's jump on over here real quick. We'll just have a quick look here. I'm not going to switch screens yet. Let's see. Isaiah Briggs, white man shops for ski mac. Oh, black man shops for ski mac equals crime. Yeah, and that's those fundamental problems that this report we're going to dig through kind of goes into all of that. And yeah, I mean, if I as a white guy go in and start looking for ski masks, people are like, oh, where are you going skiing? You going out somewhere? Oh, what's going to go on? Is it going to be fun? Awesome. Hope you have a good time. Black man goes look for a ski mask. What are you doing? Are you committing crime? Yeah. That's the problem with this type of stuff. Okay? I mean, that's a challenge. And it's a reality. But it's not a reality. Here's the thing. It's not a reality as much for the individual people in the world. It's a bigger reality for the algorithms, and we'll explain why that is. So yeah, absolutely, Isaiah. That is a problem. Technobismo says people are stupid. Some of them are. JJ Game, hello. Nara Sali, hello there. Yes, if you just joined me, we are from Mars. My tinfoil hat is really kind of intercepting some of the weirdness, so it's causing some weirdness to happen here on Mars, but that's okay. All right, let's see. Evening, Xiphoid Process. How are you, sir? All right, now let's jump back over and have a look at some other ones. So this is one of the ProPublica detailed reports. So here's this guy, and I have a few small criticisms of this report, but what they're saying is minority neighborhoods pay higher car insurance premiums than white areas with the same risk. So they analyzed neighborhoods in California, Illinois, Texas, and Missouri and showed that for similar the major insurers for similar policies, the minority neighborhoods generally paid 30% more than other areas with without as much issue. And so there is one fundamental flaw that I see in their report, and that is one of the things that I wanna look into. Give me just a second. I want to do a quick adjustment on something here. Do a quick adjustment there. All right, so they talk about this guy, Otis Nash, works 6 days a week at 2 jobs as a security guard and as a pest control technician, but he still struggles to make the $190.69 per monthly Geico insurance premium for his 2012 Honda Civic XL. He says, I'm on the edge of homelessness. 26-year-old Chicagoan who supports his wife and 7-year-old daughter, but without a car, can't get to work, and then I can't pay my rent. Across town, Ryan Hedges has a similar insurance policy with Geico. Both drivers receive the good driver discount from the company, yet Hedge, who is 34-year-old advertising executive, pays $54.67 a month to insure his 2005 Audi Q5 Quattro sports utility SUV. Nash pays almost 4 times as much. Hedges, though his rundown neighborhood, East Garfield Park, with vacant lots and high crime rate, is actually safer from an auto insurance perspective than Hedges' fancier Lakeview neighborhood near Wrigley Field. So here is my fundamental problem with the study. Now, I assume that they have similar driving records because they both receive a good driver discount. Okay? They're both from Geico, so they're the same policy. I would expect the Audi to have a lot higher insurance policy because it is a newer car, it is a more expensive car than a much older Honda Civic. The question I have is the age discrepancy. There is an 8-year difference in age, and if you are in the insurance industry, 8 years is a ton of difference. I pay less for car insurance now than I did 20 years ago when I was 20 years younger, despite, 20 years, and the reason happens to be because as you get older and have no accidents, your liability, your chance of having an accident decreases. And so I would expect that. I would really like to see the same exact report show a 34-year-old from this one neighborhood versus a 34-year-old in the other neighborhood. Everything else aside, though, I would definitely expect them maybe to even have this a similar, because the Audi's policy, car for car, the Audi policy should be a higher policy than the Civic, because it's a lot newer of a car, it's a lot bigger of a car, it's a lot more expensive as a car. So I do have that small criticism with this report, but what they did do is they looked at several different neighborhoods in these 4 different states, and they've observed across the board in minority zip codes, people tended to pay 30% more than not. And so that is certainly a question. So if you're in one of these 4, California, Illinois, Missouri, or Texas, you can enter your zip code here and see what the rates are. But, I mean, they pretty much analyzed a lot of different people for this, and essentially every single one of them was more for the minority neighborhoods. So this is just car insurance. Of course, there was, this one's back from years back, and back there, get rid of the FTC one. This one here is from 2013. Staples.com is charging people from poor zip codes more than they're charging people from richer zip codes. And this is something, I think they said originally was in Wall Street Journal article, but this is actually something ProPublica reported on as well, where they were just basically looking at the IP addresses and using geo-IP tagging from the IP address, figure out where a person is, and push various different rates for individual products to people based merely upon the zip code. So if you went in and shipped a store, if you were in a store and you shipped it to a different zip code, you might actually end up paying more than if you shipped it to another one. So that's one of those things to keep in mind. So you're paying more for basic office supplies. You're paying more for car insurance if you're in the minorities. And another one, let's see. Looks like I don't actually have the article. Or maybe, no, it was this article here. So this article here, when big data becomes bad data, did a very similar thing that found that people in Asian neighborhoods, I thought this was this article, maybe it's not this article, but people from Asian neighborhoods generally paid the highest tier price for SAT test results than people in non-Asian neighborhoods. And so they found these price discrepancies. It's like, and the difference was like $2,000 difference. It ranged between $6,000 to $8,000 for some type of test system, SAT test system going on. I'm not sure if that was an industry district-wide or what it was. I can't imagine it was an individual person report. But with that being said, with all that being said, then I really think that we have a problem. Why are you taking a digital product and you're charging some people more money than other people? That in and of itself is a challenge, but it all comes from big data. And so we have to keep that in mind. Just kind of keeping track of what comes where and why. All right, comments are kind of going crazy right now, so let's have a quick look at our comments. Let's see. Anna Rita, greetings. Just finished eating tacos. Ooh, I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna make tacos myself tonight, I think. Actually, Anna Rita, though, I have my own hot sauce I'm pushing out the recipes for, and now my own tortilla chips I'm gonna be pushing out the recipe for soon. So I got more stuff coming in. Mike Washburn, greetings. My kids are the best at getting you to buy stuff. Daddy, I need an iPhone. Yeah. And the companies can only track what you do on your computer. If you shop in person, the companies will never know. Incorrect, Carbon Programmer. Incorrect. Did you know that both Google and Facebook have access to over 70% of credit card data, even your offline data? So if you are using a credit card at a store, there is a 70% chance that Google will be able to take that and add that to the profile it's already building about you. So no. Just on saying that this is just an online thing is a fallacy, because both Google and Facebook have access to the credit card data from all these companies. They will collect that data and attach it to your profile, so they know what you are buying even offline. That becomes a huge problem. Lots of studies. In fact, I know at least news reports. I think I've done some tinfoil studies about that one as well. Yes, but always use cash. Always using cash and not using a Shoppers Club card will get around that. If you're using a Shoppers Club card, if you're using a credit card, if you're doing online shopping, all of these will mix back. You want to go into the store, don't use a Shoppers Club card, use cash, and that's the better way to go. So that way they won't track it down. Clapson, greetings from Germany. What will you guys do on Sylvester? I don't know about Sylvester. Okay, I always use cash when buying stuff. Cash is untrackable. It's at least it's a lot harder to track. So, school has fill out a bus identifying paper. When it asks my race, I put Martian. Nice. Roger will... Where's Roger? Roger's back that way. Roger will be happy. Hello, Gavin. How are you? Anna Rita, Mike. When I was young and my mom asked for stuff, she said, Mommy cannot afford it, but you can once you start working, so there is hope. I went, aw, but that is reality. Really? You put Martian? Hey, that's what I would do. I mean, I am part of the reptilian alien race. In fact, my handler is sitting here watching me right now. I mean, he's right back there. My handler's right back there watching me. Greetings, Dr. Rob. How are you? Carbon Programmer, never trust any paper with my ethnic background. Carbon Programmer, my ethnic background is my business. There you go. Yep. Are there other Fedora users like me here? I don't know. I don't use Fedora personally. I'm not a big fan of it, but I used Fedora a few months before I switched back to Linux. Switching back to Debian. Yeah, I'm running Debian right now on my media computer, and my mainstream computer here is Linux Mint Cinnamon. So, if you're black, you have to sit in the back of the school bus. Why do you want to know that your race? Well, you know what's funny, those Zyphoid processes, that we've had all of this progress to desegregating everything, and now, sorry to say it, but a lot of the SJW stuff wants to resegregate it and produce safe places for people of specific minorities. It's like, you're trying to undo everything you fought so hard for. Can you people just not enjoy life? Really? Just let it go. Let it go. Correct. And car insurance is based on your credit score. Yes, part of your car insurance is based on your credit score. And by the way, in that report, the investment broker, he probably has a better credit score than the guy working 2 jobs. It's just a reality, unfortunately. Frank Ducks, Mint user here, and Tails and Kali. Yes, I use Linux Mint and Tails. I don't use Kali much, but Equihacks and credit score. Yep. Isaiah Briggs, insurance is a scam. They take your money and don't pay out. I have a friend who lost a home in a hurricane. The insurance company called it a pre-existing damage on his home was completely gone. Yeah, that's the reality. Is, I mean, they force you to buy the stuff and then they don't want to pay out. And that's, that's unfortunately reality. So I don't trust insurance companies as much at all as I can. So, said your ethnical background is your business. It was a joke. All right. I saw that in American movies, black people steal TVs there. Well, that's the reality. We're going to get back to that article talking about that. So, Debian is also good for desktop. Yeah, I used it mostly for schoolwork and the internet. Big data is also heavily at play with reward points. Yes, that's why I don't care. You know, like this is funny. A lot of people are like, well, I use it so I can get my gas points and get cheaper gas. Yeah, the gas I get is still 10 cents cheaper than the gas you get if you spent $500 on the grocery store that month. My gas is cheaper because I walk in and pay cash. Serious. The gas station I go to that's right in my town, and there's a few of them around town, if you pay cash, you pay 5-10 cents cheaper per gallon just by paying cash. I don't need reward points. No, I really don't. How about minimalism and buying less crap? That's better. More collateral you have, the lower your rates are. So poor people have less collateral. The companies think that the poor people have higher liability, default on their debt. That is oftentimes what they think. Can I post a link? Isaiah Briggs, you will be a moderator for a few minutes, Isaiah, so you can post your link, and then when I see it, I'll take you off. Analog, IDC, hello Tom, I wonder if Google is keeping data on how many treats Kitty eats. Probably. Musical Neptune, the Jedi race, there you go. Facebook, more like Facebook. You'd think that rich people would have to pay more, but they pay less. Even with the next Trump tax code, the ultra-rich make out. Yep. Cash is my BFF. No tracking, and I know how much I spend each month, every cent of it. Yep. Equihacks, FaceCrook, and iMacintology, and Google Ag. Yes, I put spaceship as an alternative means of transportation on my work profile. Yep. JJ Games, rocking Ubuntu Mate. Sweet. Today my wife said I bought a new pair of boots, and I said I hope it was within the budget. She said yes. And so I went to my budget application, saw that she did not as she went over $20. Wait. I saw that she did not as she went over 20. There's a YouTube link. Let's copy link address. Let's see what we are looking at over here in YouTube. Oh, actually, Isaiah, this is that's actually one of my articles. I'm gonna remove you from moderator. Yeah, we are actually. I'm pulled from their articles, but yeah, absolutely, we're gonna be talking about that exact thing. Rewards are often a con to get you to spend more overall. Yes, think rewards points is a scam. Absolutely, it is absolutely a scam with all the rewards points. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, so of course, we're using all of these awesome things to benefit society, right? Oh, wait, hold on. Because Facebook was caught doing this over a year ago, and then they said, oh, we're going to fix this, and they were caught not fixing it. And then basically, they got called out on it again just a couple of weeks ago, and this is really funny. Responding to criticism from black lawmakers, Facebook says it will temporarily, keep a note on that word, temporarily block advertisers from excluding racial and ethnic groups when placing ads on the social network. This is just like Apple saying, we're going to temporarily allow you to replace that iPhone battery for $29 instead of $79 because we're just going to wait for the storm to pass over and then return quietly back to normal, and then people will forget about it. And this is a challenging issue. But yeah, so Facebook is going to temporarily block advertisers from excluding racial and ethnic groups. Now, the reason this Facebook one is more important issue is that with all of this stuff we've been talking about so far, it's perfectly legal. There's no laws against it. But the fact that what Facebook is doing is it's allowing people to use their platform to target ads for housing things at certain races, that is where you cross the line. It is actually illegal by current law. But this is one of these fundamental challenges. The fundamental challenges that that goes on here is that Facebook will Facebook is allowing people to do these variety of ads targeting to very specific people. And ProPublica has gone back on again this last couple weeks and demonstrated that you can still do this. I don't think I had the article here, but I actually had a black entrepreneurs article telling you how to produce your ads specifically to target the black population. So I'm guessing that his business entrepreneurialism is focused towards products that are probably more of an interest to that community. I just don't know. I don't know what the guy sells other than that. So, but yeah, so this is kind of crazy that all these companies are doing this stuff, and a lot of it, unfortunately, is legal. And this is why I think we need to change some of this around so it's not quite as legal. Let's see. Isaiah watched that video yesterday. Yeah, that is an awesome video. I would definitely go watch that video that Isaiah Briggs put in the comment feed if you haven't seen it. Okay, did you get my email about trackpad spying? Yes, I did. It's a neat concept, and I might do something about it. It's the fundamental challenge is it seems it was more of a mistake than something intentionally put in, but I just don't know yet. So I'm gonna put it in my crank file, and maybe we'll come back and revisit that at another later date. Robert Lopez, I use cash to avoid the future Terminator to come and get me. Yes, yes, yes. Plane tickets are best bought in incognito mode. Prices differ according to the info in your cookies. Correct. Pizza Loving Nerd, yo, dude. And yes, I did get that PayPal donation pizza. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, man. And you know, the PayPal link on my website works. For whatever reason, the one that's on my YouTube channel does not. So if you do want to support me on Patreon, or excuse me, on PayPal, switchtolinks.com/support. That PayPal link works. I don't know why the one on the YouTube channel doesn't right now, and I'll look into it as soon as I can. Greetings, Joe Johnson. Did I get... Yes, I did. Thank you very much. All right, Robert Lopez. I have to remember that above info when I'm buying tickets. Yes. In fact, it's good. Actually, if you have access to either a VPN or Tor where you can choose your exit node, like on my phone, if I'm doing online stuff anymore, I actually more often than not will use my phone because my phone connects to Tor, and then what I can actually do is go into my Tor router, and in my Tor router I can actually go in and I can choose my exit node by my cities and stuff. And so you have the ability to choose where your exit node. I don't think I can actually change the United States. I think I can do United States. I just can't say what city it is. But it'll kind of give me random cities and things back and forth. A VPN, you can target your zip code. So that's a good benefit of the VPNs is you can target your zip code with that. Facebook is spyware, and it is for snowflakes. It is definitely spyware, and I haven't been over there enough to know if it's for snowflakes or not. I don't know if it's necessarily for snowflakes, though. I mean, I think it's just for anybody that wants to throw out a political opinion and whatever else. And all I see over on Facebook is political fights and ads. So that's why I don't go on Facebook. I haven't done for years. Okay, the point cards is a scam because you need to spend a certain amount of money to the store to get $5 off. So in reality, you don't save money, but you just spend $50. And that's the same thing I have about coupons. You know, if I can find coupons for lettuce, I'm all for it. But most of the coupons is all for processed junk food that's bad for you anyway. Why are you wearing a tinfoil hat? Pizza loving nerd, this is tinfoil hat time, man. Tinfoil hat time is where I talk about things that are very close to conspiracy, but not really conspiracy. So this is actually my regular Saturday 5 p.m. show. Tinfoil hat time, we cover those crazy topics that are just too close to the conspiracy theories, but have an element of truth. So that's what we're talking about here today. We're talking about big data and how the big data collects you, and we're going to be talking about how you can avoid the big data collection. Only time I have benefited is by temporarily having money back card and then paying it off and then dumping the card when we get the cash back. They lose then. Yeah, that's it. States' reality is a bit bonkers these days. Inverted totalitarianism, crony capitalism, call it what you want. Good thing we have tinfoil hat time. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Yes, the sheeple. Sheeple, do not drink the Kool-Aid, sheeple. Pizza Loving Nerd released the video of the virus. All right, let me know how it goes. YouTube wants your consent to conform to their rules in order to make money, so they probably block PayPal. It's something about an expired token. I don't know. Tom is avoiding the aerialite satellite from spying on him. The aerial satellite. Yes, I am. They can't get into my brain cells. Right, Kitty? I still have an Astral VPN on my desktop, laptop, and stupid phone. G'day, Charlie Brown. Merry Christmas to you all and a Happy New Year. We are being watched. Yes, we are. Roger's back there watching us all. Marketplace Canadian TV show. Marketplace, yes. Marketplace Canadian TV show is awesome. And you learn how not to get scammed. Absolutely. I'll have to look for it on Kodi. I just watch it on YouTube. But yeah, I love the Marketplace show. It's so much fun. I love that show. So a good video on how pfSense can support VPN on different sites and ports. Yes. Are you ditching Patreon for Maker Studio in 2018? No, I'm ditching all of them for my own custom brewed thing because I'm a web developer and I have the technology to build stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep Patreon running. I'm going to run both systems concurrently when they're both up. But the advantage is you just have to pay with PayPal or whatever other means I put up there. So and then you don't have to give that third-party company all that data and whatever else. All I'm going to have to require is the email address for the login, and PayPal will handle the rest of it. I mean, that's how I'm trying to set it up to minimize the data I have on anybody because I don't really need it all. I'm okay with usernames. That's fine with me. I am not like OkCupid where you have to tell me your real name. Hey, this is an immediate philosophy. I need to know about today's happenings in technology world. Glad to have found this channel. I'm going to learn a lot from you. Thank you, Exilibris. Exilibris, what you might want to read, read the Neil Postman books. He has two books that are exactly about this, although they're written in the 80s, so it's older tech, but definitely has a lot. And these are The Disappearance of Childhood is one of them, and Amusing Ourselves to Death is another. Read those two books if you've not already. Now, if you're into media philosophy, you probably have already read them, but if you haven't, go get them and read them. They are awesome books. Kind of a combination, actually, of 1984 and Brave New World, which approached, one of them was an internally totalitarian world, one of them was an external totalitarian world. What Postman did is combine both books together to build an epistemological framework for what our society is doing now. And it's actually so telling what he did in those books. Now, Tom, we know the truth to wearing the tinfoil hat is to get the ladies to dig nerds. Ding! I wish communism actually worked. Yeah, and the reason communism doesn't work, communism would work if it weren't for human nature. But humans are inherently sinful, and that's why communism doesn't work. Inherently, the people will get to the top and oppress everyone around them. That's how it works, unfortunately. On the topic of big data, how secure private is the Tails OS in reality? I think Tails is one of the best ways to access Tor. And the reason Tails is one of the best is because what you don't think of as much, it's not just the internet connection through Tor, it's also the fingerprint of the operating system. And what Tails does is it makes sure that you have a unified operating system. So a person can see you're on Tor, and they can see you're on Tails. But if you're not customizing anything on Tails, then what they can't do is they can't see your system specs and other things because Tails masks all that. Now, once you get on the internet, you're already asking yourself for problems if you're trying to be completely anonymous. But as far as what I'm talking about here today with preventing companies from collecting your data, I would support Tails absolutely. In fact, I actually have on my Cubes build, I have a means to run Tails in the background as well, even though it already has Unix on it. So, you can do all that kind of stuff. Greetings, Mill. How are you? So far, the virus video is going pretty well. Going to get a lot of views. That's cool. Sonny Douglas, I look great. Thank you. Ding. Okay, you are being watched. Roger. Did I see Edward Snowden's new app? I heard about it, but I did not see it or look into it. Zulu is watching you all. Yes, he is. I've noticed that MGTOW is taking off more in the West and even in Asia. Huh. Governments work together with feminism and often anti-alone independent. It seems a whole Western society is based around getting everyone married. Probably. Working on site for my stepdad for the late Christmas present. Too bad I don't know HTML. Pizza Lovin' Nerd, just shoot me a PM if I can be of any help to you. Let me know. What is Marketplace? CBC Marketplace. It is a Canadian muckraking expose, hard-hitting group, and I really like what they do. They're trying to shut down virtual coins in Australia. Kitty needs a tinfoil hat. Yeah, I have some pictures of the kitty with a tinfoil hat, but he really does not like wearing tinfoil hats. Communism works until you run out of other people's money. Well, that's more fascism, though, than communism. Because in true communism, everything is shared. There's no need of money. It's when you get into the fascism groups where you have small groups of people controlling everything where communism starts to fail. But inherently, people want to follow a leader, and so anytime that pure communism has an inkling to work, some true leader who's probably not has the society's best good will step up, and a fascism will come out of it. And that's kind of the problem with it. But I'm going to get back to the articles. And we're going to come back to these guys here a little bit later. Let's have a couple more things to look at. All right, so this is, of course, from Marketplace. So if you go to cbc.ca, and you can find Marketplace from there. Marketplace is an excellent thing. They have a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of great information. But this particular video and article, they basically bring 3 people in, and they have them searching from their own devices and from their own smartphones in normal mode and in incognito mode, and they're comparing results. So this is a really cool program, and Isaiah Briggs there did the link to it up there in the chat, so you can have a look for that. But this video here, they basically went through and talked about the various ways that companies will use all of the places you visit in order to basically charge you more or less for individual products based upon the places that you've been. And that's the challenge. So what we want to do is we want to follow some steps. Clearing your cookies is always a good thing. However, the downside is it kind of really forces you to log in, especially if you two-factor things and stuff like that. It's kind of a pain clearing all the cookies. But what we're going to do, though, is if you look at these are their basic take-home tips, and I would support all these. Number 1, shop incognito. Go into the incognito mode on your browser, or what I would do is in incognito mode on a browser that you don't usually use. This is why I have multiple different web browsers on a computer. I'll have browsers I don't use for anything that I have no problem clearing the cookies on a regular basis. Use incognito mode. People will not be looking at your previous history. Number 2 is check on your phone. Shop on the various different devices to see if your price changes on your phone or your tablet. Okay? Because they will show up as different devices, and you might very well get a better deal over there. Abandoning your cart. This is actually a neat feature because a lot of stores, like Shopify is a big one, it has a tracker to determine who is abandoning their shopping cart. Who adds a bunch of stuff, starts the process, and then leaves the site. A lot of sites will have automated systems to email you a coupon code if they have your email address, if you put a bunch of stuff in the cart and then abandon the cart. So you could try that. Put a bunch of stuff in the cart, abandon the cart, see if they send you an email to get everything in your cart for 20% off. Might be a work. And track your product. Use price tracking websites to see if it's a good time to buy or if it's worth waiting. So those are all things that you can do to fight price discrimination online. Now, ProPublica went a few steps further. They wanted to figure out how you could block out from data brokers. Data brokers don't make it easy. Oftentimes, they don't even allow it. And this is the biggest problem here in the United States. There's no laws about this. In EU, there are. So here is, this person here is, what's her name? Julia. Julia Angwin. If you get a chance to watch some of her seminars online, watch her seminar. She is an amazing privacy advocate. But she has this book called Dragnet Nation, and what this book does is she's kind of talking about all this big data collection and things like that. All right. So down here, she actually looks at, and they basically have embedded this. I'm guessing it's an Outlook, sheet, whatever. These are all of these different companies and the information that they have about you. And so is opt-out possible? You'll see that some of these are yes. You'll see a lot of these are no. This is, let's see, no unless you are EA resident. Data Logics, easy background check. So a lot of these places, you cannot control your data. You cannot tell these companies, take my personal data and get it out of your database. They're like, no. Let's see, there is a link to the opt-out page if there is one. So the ones that have the link to the opt-out page, personal information you can request, and can you get a copy of your data? So you can actually get copies. So this might be a fun project, is to go through this list, see who has what data, and opt out of all of them. These are the companies she tried to opt out of. Sheesh. And was opt-out actually possible? You'll see that a lot of these were not possible to opt out of. So some of these you can, some of these you can't. But you can see that, you know, these guys, like, look at this string of no's. There are so many of these you cannot opt out of this data. And this is the problem. We need to have the ability to say, opt me out. I don't want you to do that. What's this say? Opt out unless no, unless you are what? I'm not sure. So you can see that controlling this data is the hardest thing to do. So what can you do about it? Well, in my opinion, the very best thing you can do about it is that you can do everything you can do to confuse their data, scramble their data, and prevent them from collecting data. And that means you're taking a little bit more steps to making sure that you're not staying online on accounts. You're not, you know, all over the place with whatever you're trying to do. You just want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you want to minimize the amount of exposure your data has to the world. So with all of this, it's not possible to opt out of the data. It's all being collected. It's grabbing your smartphones. It's going here. It's going there. It's all over the place. Is it reliable to allow big data to do predictive policing, i.e. Minority Report? Should you have a police officer knock down your door right before you commit a crime because they've predicted you're going to commit one? Starts to raise some ethical questions. In fact, that's exactly what Minority Report was trying to ask, is these ethical questions. That movie was a movie above its time. When it first came out, it was like, this is interesting, a little weird. Nowadays, holy crap, is that thing like telling of our world? I mean, reality. So is predictive policing a reality? Is this something that we should do? So PredPol successfully predicts 50% of gun homicides by flagging in real time 10.3% of Chicago, which, by the way, is quite a big area. The challenge, let's see, algorithms can also get it wrong. Pedro Domingos, a professor of computer science at University of Washington and author of Master Algorithm, recounted an important lesson of mistaken machine learning. In an article for the Washington Post, he explained how a colleague had created a computer algorithm to tell the difference between wolves and wild dogs, which can look quite similar. During testing, the algorithm performed perfectly. Too perfectly. Upon further inspection, it was revealed why the computer did so well. All the photos of the wolves had been taken with white snow in the background. None of the photos of dogs had snow in the background. The computer had simply learned to identify snow and not wolves. Similar dangers face predictive algorithms. False flags might prove correlations only because of a poorly designed model. Like somebody had mentioned earlier, the ski mask model. You know? It's crazy. All right, so is big data racist? Sometimes machines get it wrong because of racial or gender bias built into the model. For policing, this is a serious concern. As Frank Pascal has written in his acclaimed book, The Black Box Society, algorithms, quote, algorithms are not immune from the fundamental problem of discrimination in which negative and baseless assumptions congeal into prejudice, and they must often use data laced with all too human prejudice. Okay, so these two scholars study the disparate impact of big data technologies. So this is a term that showed up in the 70s and kind of said, well, it was actually illegal to target things based upon certain regions, and there were some definitions about it. He says in an article on big data discriminants, They articulate the 4 root problems of algorithmic decision making. Number 1 is definitional bias. Number 2 is training bias. Number 3 is selection bias. And number 4 is proxy bias. So combined, these problems contribute to a largely unintentional algorithmic discrimination in many big data supervised learning models. There's actually a fabulous report down here I want to see if I can find. Okay, let's see. I didn't want to read all of this, but there's one more really nice thing I wanted to see. If I can find it. Okay, in building a training model, I don't think this is it, but we're going to start here and see where this takes me, see if it jogs my memory. In building a model, the training the data, the system requires human judgment. Analysts must make decisions about how to use the data. Feature selection has the potential to create bias, meaning the features you choose for one model will alter your result. Again, take regularly simple model to predict the location of the crime. You can now build the crime prediction model. Actually, I do remember what I wanted to do. Let me see if I can find it. It was on the first page. Oh, come on. Back up. One page back. Okay. So here is an example of what could possibly go wrong. So police use social media scraping tools like Geophedia to target possible gang members involved in drive-by shootings. They search terms like gang, car, gun, hit, cat, park, run, drive, shoot, strike, red, and colors. A series of tweets and social media posts. So basically, they scrape all of this data off of the social media sites that we give them. That's why the CIA loves Facebook and Twitter and social media sites. We give them all this data. It says a series of tweets and social media posts pop up. The police began tracking links between various social media users. On the basis of the identified problem, shootings, the identified targets, people using social media and making gang-related comments, and the location, Cincinnati, the software program comes up with a list of suspects to target. But unfortunately, for the accuracy of the computer program, many people in Cincinnati might be talking about the local baseball team, the Reds, using words like hit, run, scrape, cap, park, and other baseball terms to discuss sports. The correlation might be very accurate given the search parameters and algorithmic design, but overboard with regard to finding the actual targets. Okay, and this is a challenge. One of the challenges that we also find is that oftentimes, and I hate to say it, but oftentimes the police forces are more interested in an arrest than they are in finding the actual person culpable. And as we start getting into predictive policing, where you can narrow out little things and you can attach very, very minute, small details that may or may not be accurate, you have the possibility of increasing the amount of innocent people going to jail, all in the name of, look, we're cleaning up the streets. And that is why I'm completely and fundamentally against predictive policing. I realize there's a challenge to, letting the crime happen first, but predictive policing has too many problems, at least for this day and age. So that's my thoughts on the matter. What do you guys think? Let's jump on over to the comments to wrap this up. There we go. Let's look at the kitty comments. We're streaming this part from my main office. I'm back up on Mars with my uptake feed, but the kitty's back in the main office. So. All right. You've seen the list of CEOs that are stepping down and wonder why. I don't know. Communism is a red card and applaud. Okay. Communism is often Marxism, and that is what SJWs in the U.S. seem to be pushing. Less freedom, no free speech, control public, it's toxic. It is, absolutely. What's being pushed by that group is not pure communism. And I'm not a huge fan of pure communism personally myself, but, and a lot of the reason is because we are inherently sinful people, and that's the problem. Okay, NSA has informed me that you give Kitty exactly 3 temptations every episode. This is true. Oh, my Lord. This is not good, man. I'm being found out. The only animals that can live in a communist regimen are the ants. They have no leader. Can you teach me how to make a tinfoil hat? Yes. I will see if I can't do that. Wife is telling everyone about her work, about your channel, so wait for more views in 2018 so you can see my wife is your #1 fan. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you, Anna Rita and Anna Rita's wife. All right. I don't like communism. I want to own my own PS4. I don't share accounts. Yep. Is using TunnelBear VPN killing off their tracking? Who's tracking? What can happen is the VPN will be able to track what you do. It will block your ISP from seeing the majority of what you're doing. That's one of the reasons people are talking about it. The problem is that the ISP still has more, well, give the FCC a few more days to kill everything else, but the ISP still generally had more regulations about it than a general business does. Any business in your own country has a better, better accountability than a business in another country. So you always have to question that. A VPN is not a magic bullet. And I don't know if TunnelBear is killing off their particular tracking. I don't know. Okay, Static Ice is a good site to track pricing of computer parts. Cool. Bergenmers. Okay, did all you read the Intercept article about how Trump can ban anyone from Facebook? Nope. I mean, the moment the Trump administration has unilateral, unchecked power to force removal of anyone it wants from Facebook and Instagram simply by including them on sanctions. Didn't read that, no. Okay. Don't enter online forms with your real personal data. This gets hacked. Yes. In fact, as I talked about an article a few weeks ago called Session Replay, where even if you don't enter the data, they can still track it. So that's exciting. Doesn't mean they won't use their power to abuse. Top 3 data brokers: Spokio, Crunchbase, and PeopleFinder. What's gotten into Tom? LOL. Big data. Yeah. I went to Mars and started talking about big data. Why not? Venezuelans. If you want to see examples of bad governments, look at Venezuela and Sweden. Obama has still a big ship. If I ever broken USB drive, it's impossible. No, it's possible. So your view on good option to YouTube popping up 2018 to 2020 as YouTube is deplatforming certain groups' political views, as is Facebook and Twitter. What's my view on a good option to YouTube? I'm holding back and waiting to see what happens. That's what I'm doing personally. Oh, but Facebook wants you to send real photos, particularly real nude photos. That's kind of what they want you to do. Facebook is so creepy. Australian victory government is refusing to admit the gangs from South Korea, Africa is just committing crime, not because it's diverse. And we will need a community CCTV or open CCTV network we can trust as the government or police do their job correct anymore. Yeah. Watch your lesson, appreciate independent thinking. Hey, awesome. No problem, Torin. Don't even use your name. Look at my name. It's not my name. It's time for the great stream. Happy holidays. Make your own VPN. Yeah, the only downside of making your own VPN is it locks you into your own ISP. That's my personal preference. We've lost the ability to control who sees it. I'd at least rather minimize the amount of people that can see it. And so that's why I run everything through my own VPN. That way my router can do a fair amount of blocking. That's why I do it that way. Use your face and Photoshop it into a compromising photo. Yep. Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where his image is put into a movie clip. Yep. Yeah, and that's the, well, actually, that is reality. In fact, Xiphoid Process, there's some stuff outlined. Have a look for some results for this. People can literally take sound bites and create video that shows someone else saying something completely different. It's creepy what they can do. Little things, please. Little minds, while bigger fools look on to sympathy themselves. My notification was truncated. Pizza loving house, Sweden, not bad. 50 no-go zones. Toxic feminist government. Rape increased massively. Massive unemployment from imports. We need de-Googled YouTube. That would be a good thing. Except I think the fact it's connected to Google is why it still exists. So I was like, racist bigotry, and was like, what? How do I learn to make my own VPN? I actually have a video on how to do that on my channel. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Just gotta see if I can find it. Okay, let's go with videos and let's search for VPN. Right, copy link location. Copy link location. There you go. All right. So there is how to make a VPN. Can I use your VPN? No. If you rent a VPS, can you make your own VPN as well? Yeah, what my VPN does is allows me to oh wait, if you rent a VPS, can you make your own VPN? Okay. I think in theory you can, but they might block outgoing traffic. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. That would be the best way to go if you can. Could you make a tinfoil video about possibilities of technology in your view sometimes? Frank, shoot me a PM with it, and that's where I accumulate and compile things. Use PIA, some recommended, some... All right, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Of course, I got to come back to Mars to wrap this up, though, because I'm over here, and we got to summon the kitty to Mars. Everyone say, here, kitty, 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 and we're going to summon the kitty to Mars. Teleport to Mars, kitty. Teleport to Mars. Come on. Teleport to Mars, kitty. There we are. I gotta teleport to Mars. Come on, kitty. Come on, kitty. Kitty, we're getting ethereal. We're getting ethereal. Ah! We were teleported back. All right. One more. Oh, he went for the finger that time. Are the finger looking good? Yeah, the finger looking good? Of course they are. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and wrap this guy up. Thanks for watching as we streamed from Preservation Valley in the surface of Mars. And come on by another time.